because you are a pro, right? I mean, you are working in the field of journalism since like forever.
Forever, yeah. Since the time that you were just talking about the late 70s or the early 80s, yeah. Actually,
so that's when you started to work as a journalist.
That's when I started to work as a journalist. That's true. Yeah.
Okay.
So now you can make your calculations how old I am. I think I probably am the oldest guest at this conference. Maybe, I don't know.
Am I allowed to ask how old you are?
Of course, 58.
58. So probably yes, but it was very close.
Okay.
I have one COO at Anyline. He's not 58. But he's not he's somewhere between you and me. I mean, I'm 48. It's also not so. Would you like to drink some water?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I just had a glass of champagne downstairs,
really?
So I'm really fine. Yeah.
You know, this is my.
And this looks very tempting as well. So
this is my actually. So this whole thing here is happening in our office.
Yeah.
And this is my personal bar. So we have some really good rum, if you like.
Whiskey, if you have.
Whiskey. I have a Woodford Reserve. It's quite a nice bourbon.
I never heard it, but sounds just great.
Okay, I'll get you.
So why don't we have a bourbon?
Yeah. Okay.
Like Dean Martin.
Yeah, exactly. Romanus, when we started to think about doing something together, it was far too late, and that's just another proof of that we are. We are doing this event, but that's not what we usually do. So we improvise really a lot, and we've probably realized that also on the main stage now over the last hour. And it was 3-4 weeks ago, and we said, we do this event with 1,000 or so people. Now it's online; it's a couple of thousand people. I think I'll have a rum, and we said, why don't you want to be our media partner? And I guess you must have thought,
wow, we thought, wow, that's a cool idea. And because it's so late, maybe that's just the right project for us as well, because it was clear from the beginning that you have to improvise your way through it, and it was totally fine for us. So.
Okay. Yeah. So, and where do you see the key? Cheers.
Cheers, Rainer.
Where do you see the key of this media partnership? So why do you do that? What's in it for you?
I mean, so very honest answer. I know some of your colleagues for quite a long time now. Mm-hmm. And when they first approached us, and when Anton, for example, approached me, I think, wow, that's a really good idea. And we have been in talks with Project A about several projects from time to time. So I was always in contact with Project A, so I knew what you were into, what the spirit of the company is, and I think this is a perfect fit. I mean, I mean, this is just a perfect fit for a company like Business Insider and Gründerszene. So it didn't took too much time to convince us, and
yeah, thanks a lot. It has helped a lot. I mean, like it's an obvious difficulty if you are organizing something like that to make people know about it. I mean, how do you advertise it? We are everybody who is in the event knows we are not taking any money for tickets. It's for free. So how do we finance it? We just pay it, and then we have really good partners who help us to some degree to finance it, but it's not like a normal marketing machine where you say, I put €1 in, I get €2 out by ticket sales or so. Until last year, you could actually advertise quite well organically on LinkedIn. Yeah. So if you posted a lot on LinkedIn, you got a lot of attention, and we could very clearly see a difference between LinkedIn in 2019 and LinkedIn in 2020, similar to the drops that you had with organic reach in Facebook some years earlier than that. And then the first thought, of course, is, maybe we have to go back to more classic media. I mean, you are fully online, obviously, and you're modern media, but you're more normal media.
I know what you mean. Yeah, and I mean, you really got a very important point there. I mean, the most important asset for you to market conference and like this is the content. So it's the people, and I think you had a very compelling conference or conferences. Now we have a history of compelling conferences over a couple of years, and it is much more easy to communicate conferences like that where everybody who has been there knows that it is just a good conference.
Yeah.
So we went through a very similar experience with our Business Insider Trends Festival last week. And for us, it was extremely complicated to really market it beside our enormous reach with our online offerings, because nobody really knew it. So as long as you have to really explain I mean, there are so many digital conferences out now.
Yeah.
And so I think what you really did very, very good is the title, a knowledge conference.
Okay.
It's really a promise. So I mean, it comes with high expectations from your audience, but a knowledge conference is something that you really can have you really feel and smell that you can take away something from that. Yeah.
I hope that this is really the case, because that's where we're coming from. I mean, you mentioned the history of the event. In very short, the history of the event is it used to be our portfolio days. Yeah. Right, so it was basically Project A is a fund. I mean, Project A Knowledge Conference. I'm not sure how many of the audience actually know what Project A is, but we are a fund, we are a VC, and it used to be 6-7 years ago. It used to be the founders of our investments met to exchange some learnings, and it was like 30-40 people or so. Yeah. And over the years, and I think just 3 years ago, we started to call it Knowledge Conference, give it a different name, and really open up to the outside. And has developed since then. Yeah. One thing that I wanted to ask, I need to be careful with the microphone. Again, you see, we are not pros. One thing that I wanted to ask you is, when I read media about the startup world, it's mostly about who gets how much money from whom. Yeah. It's a lot about funding. Yeah. And that is essential, right? I mean, it is, as a startup, in most cases, you can fully bootstrap, of course, but in many cases, you need external money in order to make the thing a success. So I understand why this is news. Yeah. But what I miss a little bit, and I'm wondering why this is not more a topic, is how is who doing what? I mean, why is there so little? And probably that's our narrow perspective, because we, as the operational VC, put so much emphasis on the operation, because we always say, like, this is what makes the difference if you are successful or not, and not if you get another 5 million from somebody, because you can also burn these if you do it wrong. But why is this not more in the media?
So the first question is, why are closings, exits, investment rounds so much in the media that is related to the startup scene? So, and I think this is just because this is the gossip of the community. Mm-hmm. So if you meet people from the startup scene, you immediately are who gets how much money from whom, and at what stage are you now? Are you looking for a funding? So, and I think funding investments are so important, and for the people, I mean, in the end, success comes a lot with are you a unicorn? Mm-hmm. Are you able to become one? How is your evaluation of your next round? So it's a little bit like the ranking in football, or I don't know, how many how much is the market value of a football player. So it's just this, I think, this gossip, and it's part of entertainment. So it's the one side is information and the other side is entertainment. And I think that's completely fine, because there is an interest. People are just they are just curious. They just want to know who gets how much money from him, and what is the evaluation of a company. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't report on how do they do it. So there's this famous podcast in the US, Success How I Did It. We have at Gründerszene, we have a series that is So geht Startup. So how do you really do it? And I think this is, of course, that's more the bread and butter, and that's not the so sophisticated stories. But I mean, we cover a lot how they do it, and we are a lot in talks with the C-level management and trying to find out really how they manage to get along in these complicated times.
If you agree, I would like to do like a little format where I ask you, like, like, I don't know, 6 or 8 questions
Yeah.
that are not that super serious, and they're really like rather fast.
Okay.
And don't worry too much if they make sense. And then we will go back to the normal format.
That's
Is that
why
fine for you?
That's why you offered me the
Yes,
whiskey.
exactly.
Yeah,
I first wanted to have a drink, and then so it goes a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so what are you wearing during virtual meetings?
Actually, I'm wearing the same than when I'm in the office or at home.
Okay. Also shoes?
I always wear shoes.
Okay. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Vanilla.
Mac or Windows?
Mac.
What was your dream job when you were a child?
I wanted to work at the Statistisches Bundesamt. So
as a child?
Yes, as a child. I was lonely then, yeah. No, but no. I mean, of course, I could say I wanted to be a professional football player, and I wanted to be a doctor. No, I wanted to work at the Statistisches Bundesamt. I don't even know the English expression. So when I had the rare chance to have a Haribo gum bear gift from my parents or from my grandparents, I always emptied it immediately, and I counted how many colors and I had a little notebook where I took down notes, how many yellow, how many red, and how many green bears were in the. I know it's weird. I know.
Did this ever come in handy in your further job?
I am still good in head counting. So Kopfrechnen is not. I'm not head counting. Okay. Head counting is completely nonsense. That's the whiskey. So I'm good in counting and.
Okay, cats or dogs?
No animals, except in recipes with delicious, delicious recipes. No, unfortunately not.
A chief data officer always says that when he sees a deer, like for Christmas or so, he always gets hungry.
Yeah, same for me.
Okay.
I'm guilty.
What's the most ridiculous thing that you've ever bought, where you afterwards thought, why did I buy this?
Wow, that's really an interesting question. The most ridiculous thing that I ever bought. There's nothing that really comes in my mind immediately, so I really have to think about it. And I think it's like some really weird fashion item.
Okay. Are you a gadget person? This is not on my list, but do you buy like electronic gadgets because I don't know.
Not at all. Not at all.
Never?
No, never.
Okay.
No, never.
Because this is something where you easily, just like you see it somewhere, then you buy it, and then you put it aside, and then you actually don't. Okay, lucky you.
Yeah.
What was the last time you laughed really hard, and what was it about? Probably when you heard us that we want you to be media partner in 2 weeks.
I really laugh a lot when I am with friends and they tell me good stories. So a friend of mine told me a story that he was on his bicycle and he was really serious because it was immediately after this happened to him and he was still upset. And he said he saw a scene on the street where a woman was attacked by a man. And on the streets, she was on a bike, he was in a car, and he got out of the car and he attacked her with some fight. And he drove by with his bike and he immediately entered like a hero. And then he wanted to defend the woman. And then he really noticed that he got into a set for a movie scene. So everyone was shouting, "Oh, hey, you idiot!" And like he told us, and this was something that you would never believe if somebody tells you, but this really happened to him, and that was really very, very funny.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. That sounds awesome. What's the weirdest moment you ever had in an interview?
The weirdest moment in an interview was one of my first interviews that I gave in English with the I think it was BBC Radio, and they told me, or they invited me for an interview, and then we said what was it about. It was about German economy, and then the interviewer asked me about das deutsche Tarifrecht, and he wanted me to explain in English the specialities of the Tarifverhandlungen in the German metal industry, and that was really when I was completely lost, and that was really weird.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, you really had a lot of different stations. I think Financial Times Deutschland, Deutsche Presseagentur, Axel Springer, etc. What was the job that you enjoyed the most? And maybe just for the sake of that, you don't say my current one, excluding the current one.
No. I have a very clear answer to that. What I really enjoyed most was being a reporter in the former Bundeshauptstadt Bonn. As a young reporter coming to this scenery at the capital, and my first experiences in being a correspondent at the capital. I think that was the best time of my career, and in general, being a reporter still is the thing that I think is the best part of our job.
Did you live in Bonn or in Cologne?
I did live. First, I used to live in Düsseldorf because I worked in Düsseldorf with a German press agency, and then I moved to Bonn.
Okay. Never in Cologne. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you look at what's hanging here on my rum bottle, it's actually like an 1. FC Köln mask.
Yeah.
So I'm a big patriot for
Cologne. I'm from Bremen, so you can imagine my colors are green and white.
Yeah. We share similar pain.
Yes.
Of supporting mediocre football clubs. There's a question from the audience, and that is: imagine you're a startup. And you want to be reported about in your magazine as a new startup. What would it take? What do you have to do?
Yes.
Other than pay you?
No. The very honest answer is, and I mean, I'm serious, and it's important. You cannot pay us for coverage, and I think that's a very important thing. So you have to come up with a good story, and it's really easy. As that, you have to be convinced that you have a good story, and then of course you have to build a network, you have to build trust, you have to get to know people, and then I think you should really try and talk to people you know, and of course get to know people and build trust. But I mean, you have to have a good story.
But there's not this magic inbox where you send your story or your pitch or whatever, and if it's just good enough, it's like the rolly screen. Because I mean, like, we have the same thing, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, a lot of startups ask us, where do I send my material, trusting that if it's just good enough, it will be filtered out, and then we will fund them. And the truth is, unfortunately, that very often it's almost part of the expectation that if you're so good, you will make your way of being seen and recognized. And
I mean, everybody who starts a career knows or experiences that this is not automatically the case. So it's not just enough to be good, and it's in this case, in the case of the question, it is obviously not enough just to have a good story, but of course you have to sell it in a way. So you have to get your foot in the door, and then. But in the end, it's always the story.
Maybe last question: how did you like the event? What was your highlight of the day?
My highlight of the day, two highlights. One highlight, it is just only a couple of minutes ago, was this discussion about can startups learn from corporates as well, I think it was you, right? I saw it when it was you talking about this, and it was like, and you mentioned that this was like counterintuitive. And I always wonder why this is still the case. Why? And I think this is a very, very interesting discussion. Why is there still this old world, new world thing? And why aren't both sides more open to, and you are a knowledge conference, to learn from each other? And I mean, in the end, it is not that different to run a good business. There are many differences to run a big corporation or a small startup. Of course, there are a lot of business, but in the end, you have to offer successful, good products on the market, and you have to organize a company that you can make money out of it. And so I always wonder why if I have one criticism for the startup scene,
please,
it is that it is always a little bit at the border to a religion. or to be like esoteric. And I mean, just anecdotal evidence. You have in I think it is in the first floor or in the entrance, this neon light.
Yeah.
Change is good.
Yeah.
And I mean, change is good. That is something that I would expect in a church, because I mean, this words.
It's actually I'm actually looking at it as well as in one of our phone booths. But
I mean, change is good. It is so obviously wrong. Because I mean, everyone who has, if you are healthy and you're getting sick, this is change.
Yes.
Is that good? No, it is not. So change is neutral. Change is not good or bad, but change is just change. And then, and I think this is my one criticism for the or about when I look at the startup scene, is that there is a tendency that they are looking for what they are doing, as this is like a closed world, a closed universe with its own rules, and it's not. So it's just a part of the whole turbulences and this tremendous changes that we are in. And so this is, I think this is always very interesting if you see it, this discussions with the colleague from Harvard just a couple of minutes ago. And it's always a little bit like people are looking for wisdom, or for the final advice, and for the golden key. And this, I mean, I was raised in a Catholic family, and I always see parallels between church and the startup universe. And I think that's not necessarily good.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry that we have to cut it off here. We have the last interview for today here on the main stage. Thank you so much, Romanus. Thank you a lot for coming and for the nice interview. And let's continue that in the future on a different channel then.
Yes. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the wisdom. And thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot.